You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
Hey, we're gonna again review what happens, the different types of consequences, because again, today, people don't even want to talk about or speak about allegiance and disassociation. And I think because they limit those Arabic terms to just love and hate, that's why you don't hear me using love and hate. El Wallah doesn't mean love and El Wel Bara hate. It goes deeper than that. That's why you guys hear me using the terms allegiance and disassociation. Okay? Because it's deeper than love and hate. So let's put the PowerPoint up here, and I want everyone to pay attention. Allegiance to Allah and his messenger is a fundamental principle in Islam that entails upholding the values and principles of our way of life. One aspect of allegiance is avoiding associating with people or groups who actively or passively oppose Islam. Everyone should know that, but unfortunately they don't. A lot of you brothers, how many of you Muslim men are married to Kafir women who hate Islam? There's a lot of you Muslim men who are married to Christian women who hate Islam. They talk about our religion so badly. Your marriages are not valid, by the way. I don't know. You brothers are fornicators. You brothers are not legally married in Islam. You married a Christian woman who hates Islam, who thinks our way of life is evil. They always got bad things to say about the Quran. They speak badly about Muslim women and the way we dress. They have nothing nice to say about the Prophet Muhammad. They even go so far as to say that our prophet was not a prophet, but you married these women because you claim they're women of the people of the book. No, that was a Kafir woman who opposed Islam. She was not lawful in marriage for you. And by the way, there's conditions to marrying those kind of women. One of the conditions is she should have been chaste. Another condition is her heart should have been inclined towards Islam. Her heart should have been inclined. That means she should have been on the verge of becoming a Muslim. She should never have been an enemy to Islam. So all you brothers who are listening to me, who marry Christian women, who speak badly about our way of life, who hate this religion, who are always arguing, saying that our book, the Quran, is crazy, and our prophet was crazy, and our way of life is crazy. Your marriages are null and void. You are adulterers. Your marriages are not legal. Shame on you. I'm letting you brothers know that. Shame on you. Because allegiance is part of the Shahada. And one aspect of it is to avoid associating with people who actively or passively oppose our way of life. That includes the women that you lay with. The Quran warns explicitly against associating with those who are enemies of Allah and his messenger. as it is considered a sign of disallegiance, and it leads to hypocrisy. Although maintaining good relations with all people is encouraged in our way of life, we are told that these people cannot be people who oppose our way of life. So we have to have caution when it comes to dealing with non-Muslims. These people will lead you away from the truth if you ain't careful. And that's why, as a Daya, I have found over the 50 years that I've been teaching Islam, that the Muslim brothers that I've come upon who were married to Kafir women, those brothers have always been weak in their faith and weak in their practice. And none of the ones I know personally, none of their children ever grew up and maintained Islam. I don't know any personally whose children grew up and maintained Islam, because the children usually take on a religion of the mother who raised them here in America. Okay? Another form of associating with those who oppose Islam is participating in conferences or events organized by people or groups who promote shirk or innovations or distorted teachings of Islam. And this is very common here in America with the brothers and sisters who call themselves Dawah brothers or Dawah sisters when they're really not. But you know, this is the days of social media influencers. A lot of these social media influencers, you know, they participate in these conferences. They participate in these so-called Islamic events that are organized by people and groups who promote innovations and things that go against the true teachings of Islam. That's why you don't see Layla participating in them. You know, these type of actions not only go against our true Islamic principles, but they also undermine al-wala wal-bara. They undermine the principles of allegiance and disassociation. The free mixing, the way the women dress, the way the women and men are sitting together at the tables, and the footsies that's going on underneath the tables, the failure to lower the gazes, the way the women are displaying themselves publicly, pressing their breasts, and the booty touche, 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 touche that they're doing when the men walk by. I can't be a part of that. The way the women are on the stages in front of the men speaking, the gestures the women are making to emphasize their lips, the glossiness of the lipstick, the tightness of the way they push the hands on the hips. I cannot be a part of that. That's why you don't see Layla Nashiba. Well, they don't went and invite me anyway. I'm the Wahhabi. The Wahhabis never invited to those type of events anyway, but I wouldn't go if I was. Okay? The Wahhabi would have to shut it down. You know, I'd shut it down with my hadiths. You know, we're not supposed to participate in that stuff, guys. Allah tells us in the Quran Do not sit in the company of those who commit sin. We can't do that. If you're a person that truly believes la ilaha illallah and fears Allah, you wouldn't sit in that company. I wouldn't feel comfortable because Allah could send a lightning bolt at any moment. Allah can cause a chandelier to fall on top of your head at any moment. You have all these women, all these men claiming to be people of knowledge, you know, people who know the Quran and all of this. Allah can cause that roof to fall in, and you sitting in that company with these innovators, these deviators, and all this filth going on, this free mixing. And don't tell me that the Prophet used to sit at the table with the women. First of all, the Quraysh were related. Let me talk about that. The tribes, they were all related. They were first cousins, second cousins, third cousins, and they were married. They were married. You had the wives sitting next to each other, not the Prophet sitting next to a woman who was not his wife. And they weren't playing footsie underneath the table. Jealous as Aisha was, she wasn't going to have nobody playing footsie with her man. And Salama, are you crazy? She was the first cousin of Khalid bin Walid. She'd have knifed you. Are you crazy? They didn't do that nonsense. These were God-fearing companions. And they were all related. Are you people crazy? Don't you dare try to compare yourself with a handful of people. Plus, they were only a handful. Those original companions were a handful, and they were all basically related to each other. You got hundreds of people. You got hundreds of people sitting together in these dining rooms who ain't related to nobody. The women dressed in tight-fitting clothing with perfume on. Forget about the makeup. With this perfume on that you can smell a mile away that can arouse a mouse. That can arouse a mouse. Okay? With belts on. These women didn't wear no belts. With not wearing a proper hijab. With diamonds and sequins and glitter. And eyelashes going to the moon. With loud voices. The Prophet said, Allah says, soft, make your voices loud in the public. But you don't cackle like hens. These women are cackling like hens and stomping their feet with bangles on, the way the prostitutes did to get attention, with their bangles on to get the attention of the men. That's why Umar, let me give y'all the answer to the question y'all asked Mukhtar about. Why did Umar stop the women from coming to the mosque? Umar, radiallahu anha, he did not stop the women from coming to the mosque. What he did was he stopped them from staying around after night, because the women started doing what you sisters do. They started coming to the mosque like it was a fashion show, and they started loitering, just hanging around, not to pray, but to seek attention, to catch up on gossip, to see what man was around. So Umar said, this ain't happening. You come to the mosque, you make your prayer, and you take your behind home. That's what Umar did. He said it ain't no coming to hang around just to be seen. You women pray and go home, and it ain't no hanging around here after nighttime. He said it's for your own safety. It's for your own good. And then the women went running to Aisha. They said, "Oh, mother of the believers, now he wants to stop us from going to the mosque." She said, "If my husband, the prophet, were living today and he saw how you women dress and he saw how you women behave, he would stop you from coming to the mosque too." What's the source? You ain't gonna find it in no Google. What's the source? Sahih Bukhari. That's what happened. He stopped the women from loitering around the mosque, doing what you women do at these gatherings with your perfume, your evening gowns, your eyelashes, sitting at the tables with the men that ain't related to you, that ain't no mahram to you, accidentally. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to touch your foot when you did, because you wanted him to notice you. Standing in the middle of the floor, doing the booty touche, 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 touche. Come on, I'm a woman. I know how you do it. With your belt on, with your breast way out. And some of you sisters even put padding in your bra, because it's all about trying to look like Nicki Minaj. You sisters ain't fooling nobody, but maybe the stupid men that fall for it. And that's why you women end up with broken hearts and broken other parts of your bodies too, illegally. So, participating in conferences or events that's organized by people or groups that promote shirk, innovations, or distorted teachings of Islam, this is another form, of association and associating with those who oppose Islam. We're not supposed to do that. Allah is clear. He says, do not sit in the company with those who mock this religion. Do not sit in the company with those who commit sin. So we have to be cautious about the influence of these individuals or groups. And we don't participate. We don't go to these type of events. I don't care who the speaker is. The speaker's crazy. If he's a good speaker, he wouldn't be there. You ain't gonna catch. I can guarantee you, you will never see Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli at an event like that. If there's free mixing and women on the stage, you will never see Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli at an event like that. He wouldn't be there. And I think I can say this too. You will never see, inshallah, Dr. Kareem Abu Zaid as part of a conference group where there's free mixing with women and men sitting together at tables. And there's women on stage with the men speaking. I don't believe you would ever see Dr. Kareem Abu Zaid as part of that either. Nope. Now, some other brothers, yes. But I don't think you'd ever see Dr. Kareem Abu Zaid, and I know for a fact you'd never see Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli as part of a group like that. Because as the Quran says, whoever opposes the messenger after guidance has become clear to him and follows other than the way of the believers, we will give him what he has taken and drive him into hell. And hell it is as a destination. You would never see Aisha, radiallahu anha, or any of the wives of the Prophet hanging out in affairs like that. As she told the women in Sahih Bukhari when they came running to her because Umar put his foot down and said he will no longer allow the women to hang out at the masjid after hours. You pray and go home. When the women came to Aisha complaining that Umar was kicking them out the mosque, as she said, if my husband were alive today and saw how you dress and how you behave at the mosque, he wouldn't allow you there either. So Aisha would have no parts in that crap either. So you sisters and your conferences with the men and your meet and greets, you can call it Quran wa Sunnah all you want to, but it is not Quran wa Sunnah at all. It's twisted. Okay? Many Muslims, this is the sad part, many Muslims today are afraid to speak up and show support for those who have been falsely accused of extremism, and for those who have been labeled Wahhabi and extremists for speaking out against it. People like me, oh yeah, she's the Wahhabi. This fear comes from the negative consequences that are associated with being labeled or accused of extremism, including the discrimination, the harassment, and all of that. So that's why a lot of Muslims fail to support the people who do practice the true principles of allegiance and disassociation in a moderate and balanced way. So that's why a lot of people don't speak up, because somebody was asking, why do people don't speak out against? Because people are afraid. You know, everybody wants to be part of the in group. Everybody wants to be part of the in group. So rather than say, yeah, she right, we ain't supposed to be doing that, you know, you just shut up and not say nothing. But this is wrong. As Muslims, we have to stand up for what is right, despite the adversity, despite the persecution. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam always stood up for what was right. So did those original companions. Okay? As true Muslims, we're supposed to support those who adhere to the principles of allegiance and disassociation in the moderate and balanced way. And this type of support includes speaking out when people unjustly accuse them. Somebody call that person a Wahhabi. First of all, you say, mashallah, it's a good thing that she's a Wahhabi. We need more Wahhabis around, because most people today are so far away from the true Islam. That's why Allah sent the war. And then you tell them, you know, she ain't no Wahhabi. She's just a person that adheres to the Quran and Sunnah. Look what they called Umar. People accuse Umar of being mean and harsh and evil, when Umar was the most compassionate person ever. He just didn't play when it came to the laws of Allah. Subhanallah. So we have to get over this fear of being called a terrorist or an extremist, because we uphold the truth. That's part of al-wala wal-bara. We have to stand up for what is right and disassociate from that which is wrong, even if it means disassociating from our own family members. That happens a lot. Sometimes you will find yourself in a situation where you have to disassociate from your own family because your own family is misguided. Your own family is into the life of this world. Your own family is Muslim, but they're on a crooked path. And of course, Part of allegiance and disassociation entails that we are, as Muslims, supposed to share the true message of Islam with non-Muslims. Remember, Allah tells us in the Quran, in the interpretation of the meaning, invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction, and argue with them in the best way. So by sharing the message of Islam wisely and respectfully, we as Muslims fulfill our duty and contribute to the betterment of society. And true dawah is through our actions, guys. When the rest of the world, when your co-workers, your classmates, they look at you and see how you carry yourself with dignity, how you're honest, how you're trustworthy, how you're nothing like other people. That's dawah, how you're a good person inside and out. That's true dawah. You're showing them the true message of Islam. So it's essential for us to uphold the value of trustworthiness, by sharing the message of Islam with wisdom through our actions and through our speech, if we're qualified to speak about it. But the problem is most Muslims ain't qualified to talk about Islam because most Muslims don't know the basics of Islam. Okay? And again, we have to reject blind obedience. We talked about blind following. Blind following does not mean to have one teacher. Blind following means to take what a person says without evidence. Islam is a way of life based on evidence. Evidence that comes from Allah or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If someone tells you that you can't do something as a Muslim, or that you must do something as a Muslim, or that you should do something as a Muslim, they should be able to bring the clear proof, which is a verse from the Quran that clearly says that you have to do it, or should do it, or must do it, or the clear hadith that says it. If they can't do that, you just simply say thank you and keep it moving. And even when it comes to our rulers, we don't blindly follow anyone. Okay, the only one we blindly follow is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we're living in a Muslim country, we obey our leaders who are Muslim leaders, but we don't blindly follow them either. If they tell us something that contradicts what Allah says or what the Prophet says, we don't have to follow them in that either. We don't rebel against them. We just don't accept what they say. Okay? So we spoke about this the other day. Allah says, obey him and obey the messenger and obey those in authority amongst you. But we don't blindly follow those amongst us. If they present us with something that is not sanctioned by Allah or the Prophet, we don't blindly follow them. Okay? Remember, extremism. Allah hates extremism. And we have to avoid that. Islam is all about balance. Islam teaches us to be a people of balance. We don't go too far to the right, nor do we go too far to the left. We stay within the middle with everything. Okay? And also, when it comes to the principles of allegiance and disassociation, we have these negligent Muslims out there who use these principles to label those of us who apply the concept of allegiance they call us extremists. This is wrong. And we have to stop listening to these people. Because as I told you guys, al-wala wal-bara is part of the shahada. It's part of the shahada. Having allegiance to Allah, allegiance to the Prophet, allegiance to the Quran, allegiance to each other, allegiance to this religion. That's the shahada. Because you have allegiance to that and you disassociate from anything that comes between that, doesn't make you an extremist. And anyone who tells you that you are an extremist, that's a person who doesn't understand what he is supposed to be about.